This parliament, this 13th parliament that I say discussed, over 90% of them will not come back. They will be swept away by the people of Kenya when the time comes. And that is why they were stoned and parliament was breached. Where the Kenyan people have reached with William Ruto, even if he built gold roads to everybody's single home, to every home, he builds gold roads, gold paved roads. He will not reclaim that lost ground. And legacy politicians, you see them in parliament, talking like pigs, that have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar, making all manner of noises, instead of doing their oversight duty. Parliament should be asking, give us an answer why you did not use the financial system that is established.
Well, a very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Kanji Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evans Okinya. I'm glad that you've joined us here with Wakili Willis Otieno, who is the Deputy Party Leader of Safina Party, and of course a potential Deputy President in the coming years if they win. Is that a big if?
When we win. When we win.
When they win, so
yes,
to say. That's interesting. Yeah. Wakil, I want us to look at what is taking place in the country with regards to how the president is currently handling us issues here and there. There are certain things that have happened in the recent past, and it's like Kenyans are not sitting pretty well with them. One, look at his generosity. They are questioning how comes he's the only person who is able to donate such huge sums of money. But this also comes at a time when the president is actually silent on the revelations by the Controller of Budget and even the Auditor General, when they're looking at all these things happening in the country, and we expect the president to respond, but then he goes ahead and in fact, pertaining to the donations, he's insisted that he'll give to God, not to men. This doesn't sit pretty well with some of the Kenyans here. Lakini amesema, hajasema mpende msipende. Amesema tu kwamba anatolea Mungu. Let's first of all get your views on the same about his generosity.
When Jesus came, there were also Pharisees in the church. And Jesus dealt with the Pharisees in the way that he knew. Some of them were even selling wares in the house of God. So don't think that because Jesus came, those who are purveying the gospel, purveyors of the gospel, they were completely eliminated. They still exist. And William Ruto trying to use the church as a basis to hoodwink the people of Kenya. And he thinks if you donate such colossal sums of money to the church, you are going to hoodwink the flock. Kenyans are the wiser now. And they have seen through this. And even within the church, you'll find people who are okay with it to receive. But if we are genuine as a country, even when someone gives, what is the motivation? What's the intention? Why is it loudly donating? Even me, I go to church. I give my tithe. I give my sadaka. I don't go to the rooftop to shout, I've given this much. Even if you have a fundraising. So what is the motivation? William Ruto is trying to fool God. You cannot fool God. God is omnipresent and he can see through this. And he knows his intention even before he makes them known. So even God knows that William Ruto is trying to hoodwink him. And he's trying to abuse the church platform. It will not work. That is why you saw Kenyans coming out in their numbers to go and demonstrate at that church in Roysambu. It was purely because the Kenyan people are saying no. And we should ask William Ruto the question. His salary is known. His business are known. Where has he gotten 140 million in 2 weeks' time to give to churches? Yet what he earns we know. It will not work. Those are just desperate attempts to try to reclaim lost ground. That ground has gone. It will never go back to William Ruto. No amount of church donations will change the public perception. Where the Kenyan people have reached with William Ruto, even if he built gold roads to everybody's single home, to every home, he builds gold roads, gold paved roads. He will not reclaim that lost ground. It's gone. And it's because of his handling of the economic situation of the nation. But to show his hubris, While Kenyans are demonstrating against the donation of 20 million to one church here in Nairobi, he goes to Eldoret the same day, donate another 20 million to another church in Eldoret. Because he thinks now he has bagged Raila, Kiburi can be back. It will not work. The Kenyan people are done with him. In fact, I always say, maybe he's blinded. God has blinded him. That is the way God is going to deal with him. God has blinded him and turned him tone deaf. That what is so obvious to all of us is not obvious to him. So he's being used to advertise himself to the people of Kenya. So that as people are demonstrating, he's busy advertising why people are demonstrating in Eldoret. By going to another church and saying, I'm giving 20 million. So he's advertised it. He's told us who he is. So I may not be surprised that it is God who has blinded him. And we are being reminded constantly every day through his actions of what he is. And we are getting to learn him.
Well, maybe double speak and double standards would be some sort of understatements when we're trying to look at what the president is actually doing. But of course, it is beyond any doubt that the church played a very crucial role in his presidential bid back then, his successful presidential bid. Do you think that perhaps he has actually lost the church completely, and that is why he's struggling so much to please the church in order to reclaim this particular important constituency?
In the good book of the Bible, we are told where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name. That is the church. I'm present. Where 2 or more are gathered in my name. So the church comprises of the Kenyan people. They live in this economy. It's the Kenyan people who have rejected William Ruto. And that is the same group of people that ends up in church as a congregation.
Okay.
So the Kenyan people have rejected him, including the church. What we should be asking is, the church leadership still adores him? They don't. Here in Nairobi, you saw the church, the Catholic Church, rejecting his donation. We've seen the Anglican Church speak about the issues. You've seen NCCK. So, and you've even seen the faith-based organizations in healthcare services saying, we don't ascribe to, we reject your shift share. You need to pay us our dues. So they are just but representing what is the common feel of the people. So yes, the Kenyan people have rejected him, and the same Kenyan people are the ones that constitute the congregation in churches. They have rejected him because of his policies. And there's nothing he will do to reclaim that ground. It is gone. In fact, what we should be discussing as a people is not the exit of William Ruto. We should be asking ourselves, what's next? What do we need as a people? Why are we in this situation, and what can get us out of this? What is the blueprint that gets us out of our mess? That should be the conversation. The question of William Ruto being in office or finishing his term or being re-elected, that one the Kenyan people have done a referendum on. 25th of June, that question was answered. The referendum was that we don't want you as our president. So we should be just more focused. How do we get ourselves out of this? And the church will not go back to William Ruto. The church comprises the Kenyan people. And they've already crossed the Rubicon with him. No amount of donations, even in their millions, will change the perception of the people about him. No amount of donations will change the perception of the church about him.
Let's talk about the other component of this show that we were talking about. His silence actually on what is taking place with regards to the healthcare system, the SHA shift, and all these revelations. Instead, actually, we've not had any compliment from the president, but we saw the kind of vitriol that was being pronounced in Parliament by the members therein, trying to throw all manner of jabs at the Auditor General and even the control of budget for the revelations that they made. First of all, let me get your view on those revelations, and then tell us also your views on how the government is actually trying to handle that as well.
You know, the first thing the Auditor General said, you withdrew 1.3 trillion of the IFMI system. 1.3 trillion was being handled manually. Where did that money go? And as a lawyer, you ask yourself the first question. If you set up this elaborate system that is meant to capture all transactions, why did you opt to not use the same system you've deployed and handle 1.3 trillion. And the Auditor General is simply saying, you set up this system, we've been using this system to handle 1.3 trillion. Why didn't you use it? You created an opportunity for 1.3 trillion to get lost. That is what you created. Because if they were legitimate transactions, why not handle them through the IFMIS system that you've created yourselves, that you've been using before? Why did you opt for the manual? What are you trying to avoid? Are you running parallel books of accounts that you don't want people to see the kind of transactions you're paying for? That's the question. And legacy politicians, you see them in parliament, talking like pigs, that have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar, making all manner of noises, instead of doing their oversight duty. Parliament should be asking, give us an answer why you did not use the financial system that is established. Just give us why. What was the emergency that you could handle 1.3 trillion off the system? That should be the work of Parliament. But trust your legacy politician. To hear no evil, see no evil. Even when critical questions are asked, the legacy politicians don't see it. And that is why this parliament, this 13th parliament that I say discussed, over 90% of them will not come back. They will be swept away by the people of Kenya when the time comes. And that is why they were stoned and parliament was breached on the 25th of June. Because of this kind of things. One of the primary functions of parliament is oversight. And when a constitutional office holder comes up and tells you they have not used the financial system in processing transactions worth 1.3 trillion. As the principal oversight body over the executive, what should you do? You should invite the PS Treasury and the CS Treasury to explain why didn't you use this system that is deployed by Kenya government and are supported by law. Why didn't you deploy it? Why didn't you use it? You should be demanding of answers, not shouting at the Auditor General that we are going to deal with you. Deal with her, Zoo. These members, the legacy politicians, think they own Kenya. They are also subject to the laws of Kenya. They will not deal with the Auditor General, and I dare them to do so. They will not deal with her. The Kenyan people will deal with them when the time comes. But they are legacy politicians. They survive at the expense of the Kenyan people. They grow fatter as the Kenyan people are growing thinner. They bleed the blood of our sweat to afford lavish lifestyles. That's why you see them flaunting big vehicles, choppers, and Balenciagas, and Louis Vuitton shoes. While the Kenyan people cannot afford drugs in hospitals. Kids cannot attend school because there's no capitation. University students cannot report to school because the funding model has collapsed. Patients are dying in hospitals because shift share is not working. Then they think the problem is on the general, who is saying this is a problem that the executive has caused by transacting over 1.3 trillion of the system. That should alarm everybody. In fact, Parliament should be leading the onslaught. But your legacy politicians are useless. They can't see it.
On the very same issue, in fact, before the revelations on what is taking place in the healthcare system, you remember on the very function that the president gave the 20 million, of course, donation to the Winners Chapel Church, he and thereafter pledged another 100 million. He said that there could be just some sort of hitches here and there, but then eventually this system will work. That's what he said. Then thereafter, we saw these revelations. Do you think that maybe the president is not well informed of what is actually happening within the government?
When you talk about 1.3 trillion, it's not about chase systems. That's a colossal sum of money. And you cannot tell me that you are a president and you don't know there's movement of 1.3 trillion that you don't know about. If that be the case, then you're very incompetent. You don't deserve to be in that office. 1.3 trillion, I'm not talking of 1 billion. This is 1.3 trillion. So, at what point then do you report to duty? So, of course, he must be aware. And he chose to ignore it. And even if he was not aware, having been made aware by the Auditor General, What have you done subsequently to look into what caused that kind of a thing to occur? He's not interested in finding the answer. He's not interested in an inquiry. He's not even interested in finding out when the system was not used, what was the exposure level and how much did we lose as a country. He's not interested in that. Him is interested in lynching the whistleblower, the auditor general who is bringing this to the attention of the people of Kenya. Because it exposes his administration. Then it can only mean that he's also complicit and is okay with that state of affairs. And that is what Kenyans have rejected. Legacy politicians must go.
Well, let's wait and see what takes place between now and then. The president says here that, look, we are giving to God, not to man. And you're here saying that the president should not actually be giving. Is that the case for you?
The will of the voice of the people is the voice of God. The voice of the people is the voice of God. Vox populi, vox Dei. The people have spoken. William Ruto's voice cannot be any louder than the people's voice. And I do believe the voice of the people is the voice of God. And they've rejected him and his donations. So even God will not accept those donations whose sources cannot be explained. While you're donating, the people are suffering in hospitals. The people are not in school. Young people are jobless. Shift share has collapsed. Who is representing the people here? Who is representing God? It's the people, not William Ruto. Maybe he's worshipping another God, not the one we know.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop this conversation at this point and time. You can weigh in and tell us what you actually think about the recent moves by the government and its silence as well. Of course, the silence of the president on what is taking place in the health sector as well. Allow me to stop for now till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a lovely day. Thank you for watching and thank you for being part of this family. My name is Evans Okinyi.